Hello and welcome back to another episode here at the SteelerFury.com podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Kohlman. You know me as Smith is Smoking on the message boards, joined by the best host that money can buy, but which we don't have and just won't allocate if we did. We got Wil Masisak, you know him as Bradshaw, have been on the boards and accidental Zen on Twitter, and Korey Karbowsky, you know him as Corey39 um, on the boards, and Korey Karbowski on Twitter. Well, gentlemen, my optimistic self just put the nail in the coffin for us. I guess that's what it was. I got my ego overinflated our chances. That's what we're gonna go with. So unfortunately, Steelers lost a close one to the Bears. They lost 31 to 28. Unfortunately, we saw the maddening version of the Steelers that we've seen several times this year. We reverted back to some of the old stuff that we did defensively that just put us in bad situations from the get-go. A lot of people are questioning the schematics. Hell, I think it was Patrick Queen even said, I don't know how two inside guys are supposed to handle two different route combinations, you know, from the slot and wide positions, something like that. I've got a bunch of stuff saved on Twitter tonight, so there's a lot of great stuff I'm going to be pulling from Twitter at some point in this podcast, but just disappointing. Steelers offense just looked bad when it needed to be good. We really got gifted a lot of things. I mean, our rushing average looks way better when you rip off an 81 yard uh, speed out of
Big
the
play.
tush
Yeah.
push play to overinflate. I mean, the running game was good. The passing game was meh as always.
But but Jeremy, the game plan, the offensive game plan.
Yeah, you know that was world class too. 5 star, as we like to call it here on the podcast. Well, you kind of got started there. Let's dive into this. What offensively just didn't look and work right against the
Well,
Bears?
for starters, Jalen Warren is like one of the 2 to 3 pieces that you have on offense that actually
Yeah,
works. That he plays hard every play. He makes something out of nothing. Those dump offs earlier in the year that he was like picking up 7 or 8 yards on nothing. That guy you would think would be sort of central to your plan, especially against a team that might be the worst rush defense team in the league.
right.
He was in for only 26 snaps and only got touched the ball, never got any pass targets, and had 18 rushes, I think, in the game. So basically, the guy that was written out of the game plan for reasons. I mean, I actually, I like Kenny Gainwell more than most. The year that Kenny Gainwell came out, I was a big fan, an advocate of adding him as a third down back and as a somebody to put in the rotation. I think is great. But you got somebody like Jalen Warren who can really tear it up against a team that's already struggling to stop the run and missing linebackers and corners on top of that. So then you're running those little check downs in the flat against linebackers that aren't, their best players, and corners who are also not the best corners that they have. I think they could have made hay with that. If that was, the only game plan you want to do is have this horizontal bullshit that we've been seeing for, 6, 7 years now. Uh, then it's like, at least use the right players to do it, at least commit to it and do it that way. And instead, like I couldn't even tell you off the top of my head who got all of those targets, those 5 yard passes along the line of scrimmage horizontally. And then when again, the ball was spread around, I guess, but I'm not really sure that any of that was threatening to a defense. So yeah,
Yeah.
I have problems with what the defense did. I have problems with what the coaches did. Even the punter, he had probably his worst game he's had for us. But to me, the offensive game plan was like raising the white flag before you even got started.
Yeah. Corey, kind of build on that and other things that we can bitch about while we're doing this.
No, no, no. Analysis.
Right, analysis. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh.
It's just it seems like it's proven time and time again that the U-shaped stuff, it's just not the
Yeah.
keys to an electric offense. Not even electric, I would just say good.
Yeah.
I don't really care what oh, we have 28 points, right? But it's like if you watched it, you can even just look at the stats. You're probably like, that doesn't really seem right. It's that was not a 28-point performance.
Mhm.
And which, I mean, what was it technically a 21-point performance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess this is a game where usually something like that happens and we end up winning it. And it felt like this is the first time in a long time that kind of wasn't the case where we get one of those like defensive strip fumble, pump block, something like that. And we didn't take advantage of it. I don't know. It just feels like watching more of the same. And I'm sure we'll get on, this topic more, but it's just like it feels like whenever we take this next step, the head coach, if he remains, cannot be a part of the hiring of the coordinators. Like I'm not even going to delude myself into thinking that he's going to be gone, but at the very least, he can't be the person to put another OC in place. Like it just can't happen because, hey, I'm gonna be honest, Arthur Smith has a lot of his fingerprints on this, but this isn't Arthur Smith's thing in Pittsburgh. We've been doing the same thing for damn near 8 years now since the Killer Bees were gone, and even then, that was just Ben Ball, and so it's it's just at the point where you're just kind of waiting it out. It's like you're a horse waiting to get shot. You're just waiting to see when your big move will finally come.
Are you guys too young to see Old Yeller? Was that not a Disney movie
Oh,
that
kick
No,
the
I
dog
remember.
out
I've
back.
seen Old Yeller. Yeah,
yeah.
take it out back and put her down. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Corey, you bring up an interesting point there. I mean, if if you left Terrell Austin alone and Arthur Smith alone, and just had Mike Tomlin be the CEO, watch from afar type dude, and you actually let Terrell Austin coach a defense, and you let Arthur Smith do what he wanted on offense, do you think that would even work at this point? And I'll throw that to Will too. But if like Tomlin just totally took his hands off and said, "I'm going to focus on the big picture stuff and not the game plan and all this other stuff," would that even work at this point? Whoever wants to answer first.
Of course, I thought that was thrown to you.
I'll
Yeah,
take it. I
Corey.
mean, I'm not that impressed with them in general. Like if it was Flores maybe and Arthur Smith has shown he can pilot good offenses, I think it would be better. But I also don't think that it would be, great or elite by any means. I think right now it's a whole lot of mediocrity, which is what it's kind of the standard's been set at. It's I think the thing is like the whole standard is the standard thing with Tomlin. I think at this point we can really see like he's okay with 9-8. He's okay with these solid seasons. It's not like he has these big outbursts about how we need to get over the hump. It's kind of ho hum. It's like that is the standard at this point, and that's what we're on track for. So feels like we at this point we shouldn't expect anything else.
Yeah, Will, you want to build
I
on
don't think
that
either
one?
coordinator is particularly good, nor do I think the assistants even below that. We have one or two guys maybe that are NFL
Ooh,
quality
I
coaches,
forgot about this.
I think, on the whole staff.
Yeah,
But so there, nobody's working with any kind of like big advantage, but there's no doubt that the Steelers are trying to play a certain style of football, both on offense and defense, how they want the game to go. And it is like, it's this, 2019 is the thing that's burned into Tomlin's brain, it seems like, where he was just, if he just got a little bit more quarterback play and had a great defense, he could have beat a lot of these teams. They could have made the playoffs, they could have made a run, and you just get lucky, electricity to bag, whatever. But it's like he's trying to recreate that artificially every time, every game. And it's like, I just don't know how you can make, live in this fantasy world that you can make every NFL game the same game because you
yeah,
think you have an advantage in that kind of game or whatever. And it's one thing when you have, Ben Roethlisberger. I don't even think Aaron Rodgers is as much of a clutch comeback quarterback, to play that style. He's not even really the right guy for that. And he's, at one time was a pretty good quarterback. I mean, he's okay now. So yeah, I feel like even if you change coordinators, if you don't change the plan coming from on top, which is probably not just Tomlin, I'll bet you Rooney is thrilled to have this kind of football. Tomlin had this sit down with him, 2019, and he was like at the end of the season, he was like, we're gonna turn this into a rock fight every week, and we're not gonna let anybody, we're not going to worry about how many points we put up. We're just going to end up with one more point than the other team, and this is our strategy.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Like you're not seeing Sean McVay. Like there's that's you're not going to get that kind of football. I know it's pertinent to say that because Korey, you missed last week that I made the mistake of mentioning. We were talking. Korey or Jeremy was talking about how many teams in the NFL have a top 10 defense and a top 5 quarterback, and I was like, well, the Rams. They sure look like it this week, but yeah, so it's like easy to be jealous of them right now, but just the idea of different ways to think about each opponent and different ways to think about how to win football games and doing, as Chuck Noll famously said, whatever it takes. Like that's the style football team we are, whatever it takes. That's the kind of players I want, whatever it takes. So we are not whatever it takes right now. We're like, we have to win within these guardrails. And if the game is not that, then we're sort of lost as to what to do to get it back on. And we just want to try to get it back on track. We don't want to shift gears and play that style of game.
Yeah, and to pile on the coaching thing, for the listeners out there, sent a link about maybe a week or a week and a half ago to Wil and Korey here, and it was like the 24 future NFL head coaches, like guys that are like should be interviewed in the next cycle. There were zero Steelers in the initial 24, and there were only two position coaches in the next like 50 coaches or so that they listed that of just like coaches to watch out for the future. And that was defensive backs coach Gerald Alexander and or Gerard. I can't remember if it's Gerald or Gerard now, but anyway. And then linebackers coach or inside linebackers coach, I think it was Ben McCulkey or McCauley. I can't remember one way or the other. So yeah, that just goes to show you kind of our bleak outlook on the current coaching staff in general. So as far as anything new to expect, yeah, don't do that this year or maybe the immediate future. We'll see. But yeah, that's why we've been, campaigning for a new head coach and new staff for about last 4 or 5 years, probably
Mhm.
at a minimum.
We need that new owner. That's really where it's going to start. That's in
Yeah.
the previous incarnations of ownership change for the Steelers always came at a low point, and they always brought with them a fresh perspective, and things got back on track very quickly after they made the shift. And I'm putting my faith in Dan Rooney the younger because he was a quarterback in college, and he's an analytics guy. That's what he's kind of, what he studied in the Ivy League, and he was a quarterback.
Yeah.
So I would just rather have that mentality inform other things in the organization because I think we have never really, I can't think of anybody we've had in the organization front office or coaching who had any kind of power in the org that was from the offensive side of the football, was an offensive minded guy.
Yeah, yeah. No, that would be nice. But until we do, I guess we'll focus on the team as is. Unfortunately, it's that property that you can buy, the condition, and you know what you're going to get out of it. And I think that's kind of the exact same outlook. You need to have on the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what you got. Might surprise you, or you might, spring a leak in the roof and have to replace the roof eventually. But the house will get you going for a
Can,
while.
can you guys, I've been talking a lot, but you guys have plenty to say on this, I'm sure. The personnel usage,
Mm.
it's always been sort of like sometimes you can't explain what they're doing, what they're trying to do. But the two in particular, I would like to hear other people's opinion about are um, the fact that taking Peyton Wilson, who started to look like he's really coming to his own as a star, and taking him off the field for basically half the snaps. That's the first one that really kills me, and the other is might have been tight. I can't remember. There's one other one, but start with Peyton Wilson because that one just blew my mind, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you've got this young emerging player who can only get better with snaps, by the way. I know people think you can like ride the bench and then magically hop off and get on the bus and look like you're supposed to be there. But you don't graduate from fourth grade to sixth grade, and get to go to middle school and skip it or whatever. It's like you have to get more experience in fifth grade and then you're ready for sixth grade. It's the exact same way with Peyton Wilson right now. He needs to be out there almost 100% of the snaps if he can be out there. He's this young stud who can run from sideline to sideline. And I know he doesn't play the run all that well, but the only way you get better is the more attempts you have at tackling in live situations or whatever. So yeah, he definitely needs to play more. I mean, you started to see Ben Johnson do the exact opposite of what the Steelers were doing on defense. As soon as Malik Harrison went in the game, it was okay, we're passing the ball. As soon as Peyton Wilson went in the game, oh, we're running the ball. So it's like, shit, just play one of them. Like one of them's got to live or die, and if you're gonna live and die with one, I'm gonna at least do the one that can at least cover and run sideline to sideline, not the big thumper who and you saw it on a few of their runs where it's like he drifted inside, and it's like he doesn't have the speed to get to the DeAndre Swift going on the outside run there. I think it was a touchdown run or close to one. It was a big one or whatever. So yeah, I mean Peyton Wilson, just you have to play him. You have to. You drafted him to be this great third down, three down linebacker. Play him all three downs, damn it. Oh, I'm sorry. I might have an opinion on that. Corey, why don't you talk about the other elephant in the room that Will was talking about with the tight ends?
Well, that's another mind blower. But Spencer Anderson. I mean, how about this? How about Spencer Anderson in the game? For the amount of snaps that he's in the game, and Jonnu Smith. Like, I just don't really understand what the distribution is supposed to be and what they're supposed to be proving by doing that.
He's just kind of like taking a microphone and then just farting into it. That's what it feels like with what's going on with the tight end rotation and where dudes line up. Now, credit
I think there's a YouTube channel for that, by the way.
Is it Calvin or Spencer Anderson? It's
Spencer. Calvin's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Props to him. When he's out there, he's doing for the most part what they ask of him. But it's like, man, is this like the way we really want to run our offense? It's like, is this really? It's just like, what this feels like is it feels like some big Midwestern high school team who just like happen to have zero skill players, and they're like, man. But then it's the coach who only like knows how to run spread and like kind of just like put the ball out there. And it's like, okay, instead of running the wing T, we're gonna spread the ball out just without having the personnel. That's what this offense feels like. It feels like we're putting a bunch of dudes who shouldn't be doing what they're doing in spots to do things. And it's like it's what should happen when you're throwing screens to a fucking 240-pound tight end. It's like, okay, Johnny Smith is not Brock Bowers. When you're throwing bubble screens, it's to get up the field and be quick. These aren't supposed to be like 4-yard run plays where we're putting our head down because we're not quick enough to. It's pretty nonsensical. But again, this feels like, oh, Arthur Smith loves tight ends. Tomlin loves the U-shaped offense, and they're kind of in this weird marriage right now. But it's just. Imagine, I just think it's like, what if we were just playing like 11 personnel with Darnell Washington and we just went out and played football, and then you got creative with motions, and that was it. And that was
just all the targets you're giving to Jonnu Smith and touches to Cam Hayward. I mean, to
Hayward, Cam Hayward and Jonnu, and
yeah, like just give those to Darnell Washington and the occasional one to Pat Freiermuth and be done with it, right? Like, but here's a couple other things to throw at you. They played a lot of like deep thirds. They dropped James Pierre, who's like, he is a man-to-man corner.
Yeah.
Who has shown this year I think PFF has him rated as the number one man-to-man corner in the league, and they haven't played like zone. He's totally lost in zone and deep zone.
Yeah.
And then they tried out a nickel package against goal line defense. There's like so many weird decisions that were made. They were playing 12 yards off the ball on 3rd and 8.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's just so many things like that. I don't even know where to begin. So also, but just quickly follow up on the Spencer Anderson thing. Is there a reason that teams don't respond to Spencer Anderson coming in the game with 5 defensive linemen and just go barefront against it? Because I can't imagine they're worried he's going to go out for a pass. So if that's the case, why are you worried about having an extra D lineman on the field? I figured that would negate a lot of that extra beef. We got all these big dudes. Well, we're going to just bring in some defensive linemen. Do teams not have enough defensive tackles to do that now?
Well, I think part of I don't know. There is no reason why not for us. Like, it would be a bigger concern if you had like him and Darnell Washington on the field, and like Okay, Darnell's going to go to the single receiver side, and Spencer Anderson's just going to play like, normal overload tackle or whatever and be a tight end. And then you have like the trips behind Darnell Washington or something like that. But it's like we're not doing things to like get in and out of that personnel and like make teams spread it out where Darnell Washington's the point man for a screen. It's just, it seems like it's like week 2 or week 3 install of what could be a really cool package if you like dedicated to it. But then we'll run him out there and run a play, maybe run 2 plays. We got a couple plays off it, but we're not making teams adjust to him being out there. I think teams just don't care. I think they're fine with us running the ball. You want me to be honest? I think they're fine. Okay, let the Steelers run it because we know that they're not going to take risks throughout the game. So all we need is like 2, 3 punts, and if we can go and get a splash play or 2 on defense, that'll probably break them.
Yeah, I would say the only interesting little twist that that they've done with this whole Spencer Anderson thing is there were several times on Sunday where like Gainwell or him will like chip, and then it's like a de facto dump off screen where Spencer Anderson somehow is the lead blocker or whatever. It's like I saw this on Twitter earlier today where it's like
Mhm.
he actually became like a lead blocker on a lot of these dump offs to the outside. And I was like, well, that's a creative use for that. But then again, we go back to the stuff where we don't do anything with him. So it's like, well, it's like you said earlier, it's like he does a good job of what they ask him to do, but there's only so much we're asking him to do.
Well, and I have a genuine question, and that's, we aren't the biggest Pat Fryermuth fans here, but the one thing we've never taken away is that Pat's really good at blocking guys in space.
Yeah.
There's no reason that couldn't be Pat doing that, where he's chipping and getting out in space. Then you actually have like, you could do some like out wheel stuff off it where it's a genuine pass threat. It's like there's no reason Spencer Anderson has to do that. That's why I said props to Spencer Anderson that he's making those blocks in space because
Mhm.
he's a big dude. But like Pat and Jonnu and Connor are all probably more suited to do those kinds of plays.
Mhm.
Maybe not the down block threat that he is on the backside. So,
Yeah.
you can pick holes in what I'm saying, but it's like even that, it's like it's cool, but it's like I'd rather have other dudes do that.
Yeah. Well, it really demonstrates your mentality. We'll take 3 or 4 yards, over and over again versus the chance to have 12-yard plays, 15-yard plays. Like they're just so motivated to get the third down and not trying to avoid third down by making first downs on first and second down. That's just the difference between what the Steelers do and most every other team in the league, unless you literally have nothing at quarterback, in which case you play more the style of the Steelers play. But the James Pierre thing and some of these defensive calls were just so
Yeah.
like they couldn't
Atrocious.
get out of a bad they couldn't get out of a bad look, or they don't have an auto. Like to me, if you got trips and you got guys playing deep thirds behind it and playing picket fence in front, you need to have an auto check out of that. You shouldn't have to communicate anything. You should understand that if you got 4 verts against that somebody has to be ready to go, because otherwise you have 4 on 3 and somebody's going to be wide open, which is what happened.
Yeah. But yeah, just very frustrating loss. And then I just want to throw on a few more stats here just to show how ridiculous this offense has been this year. So in the month of November, and I'm getting this from Ben Fennel on Twitter, the Steelers did not complete a pass over 20 air yards in the month of November. We were in 4 games, we were 0 of 11 with 2 interceptions. I mean, Jesus Christ, fellas.
Remember that this was the stats used to prove that Ben was washed. Like Ben's
Right.
washed. We don't have any downfield passing game. It's like, well, guess what? If you're only allowed to throw a couple of 50-50 go balls on the sideline, that are just your main goal is it's either my guy or gets out of bounds and it's not going to get intercepted. If that's your goal, you're not going to make a lot of hay in the NFL. Corners get and safeties get paid to do their thing too. Like you gotta route them up. You gotta have some route combos. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm not an NFL passing game coordinator, and I was never an NFL receiver, but there are ways to run combo routes that are very difficult to defend. And ultimately, you're going to get some easy completions doing it. You might not get it every time, but you just have to like put a little thought into how to scheme against the way they. It's not even a certain coverage. It's like, well, how do these guys play that coverage? How does that safety view when someone comes across his face? Does he do this? Does he do that consistently? And then you come up with some plays that take advantage of that. We got none of that, man. It's like we were dumping it off in the flat for yards after the catch. If we can get 4 or 5, we're happy. Or we're throwing, go balls on the sideline to not just DK to, to uh 5, 6 guys and whatever. Like it doesn't, we don't even have Marquez Valdez Scantling on the field, so it's like I just don't, it just feels like we often complain about the coaching, but in a game like this Sunday, you can really see the accumulation of just undescribably bad coaching decisions and indefensible coaching decisions. Not kicking the field goal, at the end of the half when you have a 50, you have a whatever 64-yard or 65-yard or whatever. It's like, I like the chances of that better than I like Mason Rudolph converting 4th and 9, frankly. So
Yeah.
It's like maybe neither one of them is high percentage, but all that also punting before that on 4th and 6 when you still have 3 timeouts in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually I didn't look. I meant to look, but I bet you that the Steelers' chances of winning were less the moment that they decided to punt in that situation than if they had gone for it and not made it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's another kind of telling stat or whatever that shows just kind of a poor decision made this offseason. George Pickens currently has more receiving yards than the entire Steelers receiving corps combined. He has 1,044 yards by himself for Dallas this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver, as a collective, have 1,009. I'm pretty sure he has more touchdowns than all Steelers receivers
Almost
too.
definitely.
Yeah, almost. He misses out on that margin by like a touchdown or two. And then most of it's because Roman Wilson has gotten some bullshit end of game scores. That's about the only reason.
Well,
Garbage time touchdowns.
you know
Yeah.
what's crazy? It's like we were always, we said, oh, he's a problem. Oh, he's super talented, but it's just hard to deal with. He was right. He got out and he has a career year instantly. Like that's the thing. It's like all the complaining, all the antics, and he was right.
No, he's
It-
like the guy in the horror movie. He's like the only person on earth that understands what's going on. No one
Right.
will listen to him, and it's driving him crazy. That's pretty much George Pickens, right? So
I mean, like if you just plug him in, like how much, if we used him like we used DK, it's not like he would have had the stats he does. If we used, would he be excited to be catching more balls from Mason Rudolph right now? I'm like, he did what was right for his career, to be honest.
Yeah,
did
he
you see,
did.
did you see the passing charts this
Oh,
year
yep,
versus last year with Pickens?
yep.
No, Pickens was running like 2 different routes on the sidelines, whatever. And
Mhm.
this year, it's like he's got deep overs and
Right.
post corners and like all
Slants.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing compared to where he was.
Yeah.
So he must be thrilled to actually being able to be an NFL wide receiver in an offense that is like an NFL offense. That's got to be a
Yeah.
big step up for him.
Yeah, I was telling my Dallas friend that literally I would trade Brian Schottenheimer for Mike Tomlin right now. Like at least Schottenheimer knows how to drop an offense and
Yeah.
call stuff for his players. So, but let's turn the page here or whatever. It's like at some point we have to get on to the Buffalo Bills, and it's a good time too because we actually have a special guest making his way onto the show here. I'm going to bring him in here in just a second. Randall Slifer, he has done quite a few things with the SteelerFury.com draft contests and the pick'ems and
Half the
the
team.
mock draft exercise. Yeah, the drafted team, the mock draft exercise that we participate as a group in. So I'm going to bring in Randall right now. He is a Bills expert. So we're welcoming Randall to the show here. Well, he's connecting right now. So as we
Bill's expert,
transition
like Bill's sufferer.
Bill Sufferer,
they're
is that
suffering the way we suffer right now. Yeah.
at least he has a franchise quarterback. I don't know if that can be considered suffering. But so Randall, how are you doing, bud? It looks like you're still figuring out the audio. We'll get
I see nobody. I see nothing. I don't believe you. He's not really here.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to come on here, but
I'm kidding.
let's flip to the kind of talking about the Bills here. Obviously, the name of the program is the Josh Allen program. At this point, they live and die by Josh Allen.
Yeah.
So still looks like he's trying to come on here, video and audio. We'll see what happens. But
He lives
let's.
in the town of Bedrock, so Wi-Fi connection is a little bit, iffy there. But
So,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, while he's figuring that out, let's dive into the Buffalo Bills and what we can expect there. Um, I'll start off. Obviously, I said Josh Allen. They live and die by Josh Allen. Super mobile. There's no, uh, you can't just rush him. He's gonna make you look like a fool, and I think that's like Caleb Williams a few times made Pittsburgh look like fools when they lost containment, just stepping up and finding the available yards and everything. So we all know he's had a howitzer since his Wyoming days. He can make every throw on the field. Usually does it. But well, let's talk about some of the other aspects here. So it looks like,
well, actually, now I think we have Randall talking.
I say, I think we have Randall's audio here. Randall, how you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. Glad to have you.
Can I just tell you something quick about Randall? Hello, Randall, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that he's actually Dave Dameshek. If you listen to him, he sounds like Dave Dameshek, doesn't he? Come on, Randall, give us a little bit.
Yeah. Listen, I've listened to Dave probably like 20 to 30 times just to hear it, and I kind of get it, but it's hard to see it, right? It's like if somebody tells you, "Hey, you guys look exactly alike." It's never like, yeah.
But you sound like him. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, listen, we don't only have you for a limited time, so I didn't want to take your time away from talking about how great Josh Allen is. I thought maybe you could talk about how much you're suffering with your team this year and how you feel about this game.
Oh, most definitely. For the last six years, it's you can kind of pick and choose where there's a trap game and then what games we're going to win. This year, it's kind of just an up and down, kind of figuring out everything's a coin toss with our injuries and who we are with our identity. Some of the predictability leaves us to where any game is now kind of a toss up to see how we come out throughout the day and what's going to happen. And the Houston Texans defense basically destroyed us in all of its entirety, and they gave us a good recipe between the Texans and the Falcons, how you can disguise blitzes against our offensive line. So when it comes down to it, any given Sunday is now the Buffalo Bills, and there's multiple ways to beat us now.
Gotcha. And I understand the Bills are quite beat up too. Quite a few key defenders. Terrell Bernard out. Looks like Maxwell Hairston's in the concussion protocol this week.
Correct.
Kind of up in the air. So what's been going on defensively with the Bills? For those of us that haven't been following following their season all that closely.
Yeah. Well, the kicker for Buffalo was we drafted a lot of the defensive line, and we went with the Philadelphia approach. If you have depth in the defensive line, by the time you get to the third quarter and the fourth quarter, the offensive line, who plays 100% of the snaps, will get tired, but our second string, our good depth pieces, would keep kind of hammering at you and then be able to close out games. So with that, Landon Jackson is now out for the year. You have TJ Sanders, who we traded up for, which unfortunately was, he didn't come strong off his rookie year. So with that, and then Michael Hoyt's torn Achilles, and then Ed Oliver's ruptured tendon in his arm, all those injuries are now piling up to where basically the McDermott's idea was you got to match pass rush with coverage. And when you don't, now we've basically eliminated our pass rush. So now our coverage is having a hard time kind of congealing together. I believe, Davis Mills and the Houston Texans, we had 9 pressures, 0 sacks, and 1 QB hit. And when it comes to Davis Mills, we shouldn't be losing to Davis Mills. And I'm not sure what your guys' report is for Aaron Rodgers, but, Mason Rudolph being the backup, I'm not too fond of even playing Mason Rudolph, especially, what was it, like 3 or 4 years ago that an article came out that you guys said that Mason Rudolph was better than Josh Allen too?
Yeah,
Whoa,
not
now.
me.
Yeah, not us, not this crew.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. We don't forget.
Yeah, I'm sure Josh Allen doesn't forget either. But,
he does not.
But you mentioned your defensive line. You do have one defensive lineman who fans of this show will know well, because he's the guy that we laid our hat, or we drove our we planted our flag on De'Aaron Walker.
Yep.
Coming out of the draft last year, and I think he's been pretty good for you guys, away as far as I can tell.
Yeah, the most surprising thing when it came to Deion Walker is he is handling double teams very well. He's shedding blocks well, and he's not getting displaced at the line of scrimmage. And Will, I rode Deion Walker with you. So a lot of people were trying to waiver out of there. I stayed with you. I agree. I still had a second round pick on him. But his big time, who Deion Walker was in 2023 Kentucky was a lot of pass rush and interior pressure. Run defense was not his mark. And what's very surprising for Deion Walker is his run defense is now matching his pass rush. And then that length is for batted balls is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, tell us more about kind of the Bills' offense. That seems like the passing game has been very sporadic. I know they tried to add some pieces this offseason, and Joshua Palmer, and doesn't feel like he can really get going. Just kind of dive into what's making the passing game not work this year for Josh Allen.
Yeah, I do think in my conspiracy theory is that the success of the Buffalo Bills in 2024 kind of shadowed some of the offensive flaws. We scored, 2024, we got to the AFC Championship, scoring 30-plus points per game. And I think that they overthought how successful Everybody Eats is. And then once everybody was kind of able to adjust to it, then now we're having issues. And obviously, wide receiver separation is the number one issue when it comes to Josh Allen. Speed is too sped up in his progressions because he doesn't trust anybody to get open. And when Josh Allen was at his best in 2020, you had John Brown, who was a vertical threat, and you had Cole Beasley, who was an ultimate separator and a first down marker guy. So to have none of that, like Joe Brady, Joe Brady's a hot topic because, beginning of the season, Joe Brady was head coach number one. Like, who's going to take Joe Brady? But now you're starting to see him panic in adjusting and noticing, like, when he was in LSU, he had awesome wide receivers and he had a great quarterback. And I think Joe Brady is panicking a little bit when it comes to his play calling and adjustment of not having the wide receivers that separate. And you can tell that he's beginning to get predictable because he thinks that Khalil Shakir's average depth of target should only be under 4, when in true he can run intermediate routes. And then you have, Josh Palmer, who should be the intermediate separator and a vertical threat, but we're not taking shots downfield. So Joe Brady, in my opinion, I believe Joe Brady is pigeonholing our wide receivers as you can do this job and you can do this job and you can do this job. So your routes are going to be this. We're going to mesh. We're going to spam mesh. And we're going to run with James Cook and then kind of hope it works because mesh it can create separation. So what Joe Brady needs to do, which I do think they may have understood the assignment, especially with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They kind of let it rain over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they didn't do it against the Houston Texans. So I think Joe Brady needs to understand that everybody's still an NFL wide receiver, and we need to open up the playbook to be so unpredictable.
Open up the playbook. That's not a concept we're familiar with.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You referred to this playbook. I don't know what you're talking about exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. At least Joe Brady allows your receivers to run routes. Ours don't even run routes. It seems like.
Hey, we're both teams that just sit in 13 personnel and just hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, and a lot of catch and run throws. Like the Steelers, I think, lead the NFL in yak. Because their guys are so great at it. It says it's just every pass is yak.
That's what I say. It's all we do. See? So yeah.
Yeah. So basically, our game is going to be the Spider-Man meme, just pointing at each other, being like, "No, we're going to run the screen. You're going to run the screen." Yeah. Who breaks the tackle?
Yeah. So just quickly, I think you're here only for like 5 minutes, but the offensive, this thing with the Steelers is it's sort of like if they. You were talking about your Buffalo's defensive line not creating pressure the way that they need to for their coverage matchup. But for the Steelers, the same with their front seven. What do you think that matchup looks like in terms of which Buffalo's offensive line or Pittsburgh's front seven, which will have more success, both in terms of in the run game and also particularly with protecting those edges?
Yeah, I believe in the run game, Buffalo will try to dominate the run game because honestly, the Houston Texans game was an offensive line problem. We allowed, Josh Allen to get hit 8 times. He was on the injury report for soreness, and James Cook really didn't get going that much. So they're going to try to dominate themselves in the run game. I think we can get it done overall when it comes down to it. But if you flip it with Buffalo's offensive line, I think the number one critical thing is Spencer Brown, our right tackle. In my head, I believe he's a top 3 right tackle in the league. He is out for the game. He may be an IR candidate. And that's going to put in Ryan Vandermark at the right tackle. And he's an okay right tackle, but really our true backup is Tylen Grable. We just activated him on the 21-day window, so I don't think he'll be ready. So my big fear for Josh Allen is TJ Watt versus Ryan Vandermark on that side. And that is going to be a huge issue, to be honest. We're going to probably have to run 12 personnel or constant 11 personnel with Jackson Hawes, and we're going to have to chip TJ, which will help with the run game, but it will affect our passing game, even though our passing game is still rough.
Yeah, it feels like Vandermark is really should be your backup left tackle. He's
Correct.
more suited to that style. And I really like
Correct.
Tylen Grable. I was a big fan of his coming out. That was
Yeah,
one
me
of the
too.
things that connected me with Jim from Jock Professors. Is that I was talking about him getting when he went to Buffalo.
Yeah, he's a dog.
Yeah, so it's a too bad that he won't be able to make it back for you guys. But in time, because that would be a little bit better matchup. But I kind of feel like the way I feel like about this matchup is that he's a better pass protector, Vandermark, than he is a run blocker. So
Correct.
in a way that suits the matchup because generally teams are not trying to run over TJ Watt. They're just trying to keep him from killing their quarterback in less than 2 seconds. So,
yeah.
That seems like if that's your job and you have some chipping help. The other side is a really, we get the sneaky thing with Nick Herbig being able to surprise with his quickness and the fact that he's not so big, very quick, so he can get under, bigger left tackles. What do you think about that matchup?
Deion Dawkins, I think can handle his left side. He kind of has to. Him and David Edwards have not been connecting our left guard as much as they have. Deion really likes, I believe in my head, David Edwards doesn't like exactly the way that Deion sets consistently because he's the most far left, which opens up that B gap a lot. So the inside moves are how you beat Deion Dawkins because he sets the left. David Edwards normally chips in the center and then works on that. So if you're coming off the left side, Deion Dawkins can handle it. He's an island in himself, but the way you can beat him.
Still there? If not, I'm going to say inside counter. I think that's what the end of the sentence was.
Yes, my bad. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I'm guessing.
Yes, correct.
I don't know, Korey, you guys, or Jeremy, you guys got anything for Randall before we ask him for a score?
One thing is Dalton Kincaid going to make his way back this week? Because that was the guy I was going to bring up as kind of like an X factor for Pittsburgh to cover defensively.
Yeah, I wish, but I don't think so. I think he's got one more week. They're very Dalton Kincaid as top receiver for Buffalo. The issue is that he just is too injury prone, and I'm sure that Buffalo is going to think in the future is more important than the present, so they're going to give him one more week on the hamstring.
And then one more thing, just regarding your offensive weaponry, is Keon Coleman permanently in the doghouse, or is he going to get let out here soon? I know it's been a maturity issue thing with him. So just curious if you've heard anything or read anything further in on that.
I do think that they gave him the second healthy inactive because it was a quick Thursday night game.
Okay.
So it was 1 week in those 2 games. So I do believe that was a good reason why. Okay. I do think with Mekol's IR injury and then really what we look like against the Houston Texans, that we will roll out Keon and keep Keon for the end of the year. But the locker room, the issue is that I don't see Keon Coleman really contributing for the rest of the year because it's clearly obvious on all 22 that Josh just doesn't trust him. I don't think that Josh is a hardworking guy, blue collar guy. So he just kind of through his progressions, you can see him just eye Keon in a split second, then look the next. A lot of routes where Keon's open, he just doesn't look to him. So the trust there is lost. I do expect Keon to play, but the only real yards or routes or looks that he'll get will be if he's first read and it's a back shoulder throw or a quick slant and things like that. I don't think they'll get creative with him against Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a different kind of cat. I don't know that it's not immature. I just not sure he fits neatly into the football player box of like,
I mean, it's 2025. It's a little difficult sometimes. Kids got no money. He's missing he's late for meetings. He missed the Friday meeting. He was not. That's obviously a big one. But it's just some kids are different, and it is what it is. He definitely needs to mature. It's only his second year, so I mean, I would love him on the team next year, but I just don't see it happening.
Gotcha.
Hey, we'll take him in Pittsburgh. We'll take anybody.
As Barry said, we will take the warmest body off the street that can run.
But he's not old enough yet, but maybe someday.
Right.
Well, before you go, I know you got to go do yours. What's the name of your show, Randall?
Buffalo Combat Zone.
Nice. And do you air live every Monday night, or do you? What's your deal?
Every Monday night? Yep.
Okay, and we can find this like where?
Do Champions is the company, and then that's their website, and then every Monday 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, and then Will, I'm always talking to you with draft professors and everything along those lines.
Well, football, man, so I'm glad to have you here, and maybe we'll have you back to talk about Taylor Green when we get closer to the draft.
I'm in for that. You're a mini mentor to me, so I appreciate it.
Well, as an Arkansas fan, we feel for you. It's going to take a little while for the pain to go away.
100%.
Talk about it. But give us a score prediction before you leave.
21-17 Buffalo.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I hope so.
That's a low score for the Bills. They're a 30
yeah.
29, 30 point a game team. So okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
All right, Randall. Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. We had a great time with Mark Shepard last week, getting a little bit more in-depth picture with the Bears, and we love that you were able to come on tonight and give us a little more in-depth view of the Buffalo Bills for Week 13 here. So appreciate you coming on, brother.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me, and then hopefully there's another time when I'm not in the car, we can chat more.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you last minute filling in.
Right.
Talk to you soon, man. Good luck.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Well, so now we're going to get Korey Karbowsky's analyst take on everything that Randall said.
Ooh.
Right. Yeah. As Barry said, it looked like Korey was ready to chime in. So Korey, take it away. Well, what do you think?
He's a polite kid.
Oh, no, I wish we had those problems with Josh Allen at QB.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah. Like he's saying all this stuff, and I was like, shit, I'd love to have those problems, man.
Yeah, no, that's really. I do. They are in a weird spot with the Keon Coleman drama and Kincaid, and James Cook's a beast.
Yeah.
Dawkins is a beast. Like they definitely have pieces. Like I can see why from his lens they're underperforming, but Josh Allen would be a great part of the problem to have. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think these are for a team like Buffalo or Kansas City or Baltimore, Philly. These are November problems.
I was very saying they're first world problems, right?
Yeah, you just can't. It's
time.
like there's going to be ebbs and flows to the season. You can't take any of it too seriously. Yeah, we get down the stretch. The from December and then in the playoffs. I think those teams will be. They may not. They may get any day. One day they can just not play well and come up against somebody that's hot. But it feels like they're just sort of biding their time, treading water, trying to just get things lined up just so for the end of the season, get their guys back and get ready to roll. So I never have that feeling with the Steelers. It's not like I think to myself, they're really close. They're this close to getting it together. And if they just have, a few more, by the time we roll into December, we're going to be kicking ass and, you'll see the real Steelers team. Like that's the difference. The difference is they have hope. And as Perch just said this week, it's like, every Sunday, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, when you have Ben Roethlisberger on your team, from the start, from 2004 to his last year, the weeks feel important, games feel important because you think to yourself, they could no, there's just a chance they could make it. There's a chance they could win. And if you just this thing break goes our way, and so everything is amplified, and it just if you don't have that feeling that that hope that even maybe we're too big of fans and it's misplaced. I don't know, like Aaron Rodgers and all this high priced talent on defense. Jeremy, do you think were there moments this year where you thought to yourself, this team, like they could be, it's like if they could just get there, they have the quarterback and the defense to do it?
Yes, I only say that from there's enough talent on this team to where they should be competitive in every game they go into. They should be in every game they go into. But, I hate to say it, but it goes back to the coaching points we made. We're the good coaches find a way to keep themselves in games. We just don't seem to do that, and that's the biggest takeaway. Yes, I think we understand that there are definitely a few positions we'd like to have more talent at, but I think with better coaching, we'd get more out of our personnel and at least make games more interesting. What you guys mentioned, just being more creative out of the three tight end look, with some of the tight ends that we have with the different things that they can do with Fryermuth, actually doing well in seam routes and going up the field to catch balls. Janu doing kind of catch and run stuff underneath. Darnell. I'm actually shocked we started using Darnell in the way that we did. Like that was a giant leap from what I was expecting.
And then immediately went away from it, though. It's like, oh, we can't do that anymore. It's working.
Well, yeah, I was about to say if it works, we can't keep doing it. They'll expect it. So, but I think Gainwell's been a nice little change of pace back. At times, Jalen Warren. I know we were kind of wondering, can he be an every down back? And I think through the majority of this year, we've thought, yeah, he's our best offensive weapon. So it's like let him cook. It's like they always say that, the young generation's like, let that man cook, so it's like if we would do stuff for our talented players, then yes, I do think we could get a little closer to it. But it's the coaching problem again. We go back to coaching.
Yeah, you don't have the hope because of the coaching. So no matter what
Right.
flashes there are, because
Yeah.
you were saying last week that the real contenders are a team. You're looking for a team with like a top 10 defense and a top 5 quarterback, or maybe vice versa, a top 5 defense and a top 10 quarterback. I suppose you could also, if you got the right path, you could win with that. But yeah, the Steelers are like an average defense that shows flashes of being great, and they have a quarterback who's below average basically in the league, but who has flashes where he shows top 10 ability. So, if it was like a master class in coaching for how to get the most out of all of this, then yeah, it could work. But that would be like if Bill Parcells was the coach of this team, or Chuck Noll. Like I would feel better about their chances to do whatever they could do. But yeah, it's like it's this
the perfect analogy for what you just said is what Indiana Hoosier fans have been asking for prior to these last 2 years. Everything has to go right for us to maybe win the game at the end or whatever. Now under, Kurt Signetti, obviously we're just coached way better. The talent level's up or whatever. But like the prior 80 some years of IU football is we have to play perfect just to be in the game at the end. And it feels like that's what we are constantly doing as the Steelers organization. So I hear you when you say that. Trust me, I do. But Korey, I didn't feel like we gave much of a chance for you to talk there. Just what are some other things that are we good, guys? I know we got a good thing with Randall coming on talking about the Bills. I don't feel like we have to go too much more.
This is Corey's moment to tell us every thought that he has about the Steelers and about this matchup.
The only thing with the Steelers, and this is just one from earlier. Not that we even skipped ahead. This was just I forgot it. You brought it up with the coaches thing that made me think of it, and this one really irks me. Is what offensive lineman has gotten better with the Steelers? Like Zach Frazier, is he any better than he was like through his first 5 weeks as a rookie? Is Mason McCormick any better? Is Broderick Jones any better? I think that was just one of those things that just really, really eats at me. It's like there's no reason Dan Moore should be getting paid $20 million and playing better outside of here. There's no reason Kendrick Green should have looked like a Pro Bowler the moment he left here. It's just like that kind of stuff, and that loops into the whole Tomlin thing. It's just like that's what really saps the hope for this team because it's like at this point, especially with defense, it's like you're paying for the talent. And then you're underutilizing it as is. We know we're underutilizing it on offense, but it's the same thing on defense. And I think that's why these big time matchups. It's so hard to believe that we're gonna win them because we know that at the end of the day we're not getting the most out of our players.
Mm-hmm. And I want to correct something from earlier because uh, I put out there a stat that George Pickens had more receiving yards than all of the Steelers receiving core. Apparently, that's not the case. He's short by 26 yards.
Uh,
That's who
Not
you're
that,
calling a receiver, but yeah, okay.
yeah. Well, trust me, I'm talking Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, Ben Skoranek, and Scotty Miller. And Scotty Miller only has 9 receiving yards in the whole damn year.
Really a crucial signing in the offseason.
Yeah, right. Um, but yes, we digress, Steeler Nation.
Close enough, man.
Yeah,
You get your point.
right. Um, but anyway,
By the way, you didn't even mention Corey in your rant, Kevin Dotson, who's
yes,
like
the main
yeah.
one.
going to
yeah,
be an all-pro guard this season, right? By the looks of it. It's like, okay, it's one thing to say, oh, the guy doesn't fit, or we didn't like him, or we had an opportunity to move him for something, piece we liked better or whatever. But yeah, that hurts, man. You had an all-pro guard here if you could just develop him.
mhm.
Well, we all thought he could be good. It wasn't like we were all super down on him.
His
He had
rookie year at right guard was actually very good.
How many times did we say that where the offensive line guy on Twitter, Duke Manyweather, he was like, he's playing out of position. He's playing out of position. He said it
Yeah.
over and over. It's not the same thing. And who were we even playing on that other side at that point? Was it Sam Allo?
Maybe it was, yeah. Or at least at the end it was, but I can't
Yeah.
remember who it was before that. But I was just going to say to that it's not like that was the same argument used for Broderick Jones. Oh, we're just going to move him over to the left side and he's going to be better. It's going to solve all his problems. So it partially might have been that Dotson was playing out of position, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got some better coaching as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was Daniels, wasn't it? Some Daniels dude.
Oh yeah, James Daniels. I forgot about him.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. I was trying to think. Oh, who was that?
Who was known for being versatile, who
Right.
arguably should have been playing at center. Not that I'm upset
Yeah.
with Zach Frazier, but still.
No, we just love to flip guys and have them play out of position on offensive line. That's just what we do. I mean, in a way, you can make an argument that Fatano would be better suited to be your left tackle right now. So it's still going on. Thank God they can't flip Zach Frazier. He's just where he is. They could flip him, they would.
Right.
One last question about the Steelers last week and just in general,
Mhm.
and that is, if you were looking at the roster and you looked at what Philly does with the tush push, and you're like, okay, we could do this if we practice it, and we're going to line this up. And Darnell Washington, good choice, I think, in the back. To be the pusher, that's awesome. Let's come up with like somebody we think has a lot of lower body strength and can duplicate a little bit what Jalen Hurts does, getting that leg drive going and getting nice and low and whatever. It's like, what made them land on Hayward to do that job? Like, I was just, how does that happen? Even Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren, like these cats feel like they're more of that. Like I would trust Jalen Warren more, and I think taking a snap.
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Hurts that makes it work, I think, as well as anything. There's many aspects that they've perfected with it, but Hurts, those you can't take away from him, man. He's got like the butt muscles and the hamstring and like the leg drive that few quarterbacks have. I think is why they ended up doing this better than anybody else, because you submarine that line and get him just driving his legs until he gets to the line of scrimmage and just has to be pushed forward over the pile. So I don't know. This is just another thing. It's like we all know like that Hayward had got a little extra boost by being Cam Hayward's brother, and that he has some skills. It's not like he was a terrible college player,
Mhm.
but he's given more opportunities than most players with his talent and output would get. And he's even had a nice touchdown earlier in the year. It's not like he's terrible,
Yeah,
but it still blows my mind that that was how they decided to set up the tush push.
right. I mean, I will say this: the offhand play to Gainwell for the big gain. I mean, I'll give him credit. I will say we were almost incredibly dumb about that though, because Arthur Smith mentioned something earlier in the week about them having plays off of that, and as soon as that, like, if I'm an opponent and like I'm doing scouting or whatever, it's like I'm not saying like you have to read what the coaches are saying going to games, but if my opposing offensive coordinator that I'm going up against says something about, oh, we have some fun little things off the tush push, wouldn't you be more ready for that? So honestly, when that happened, I immediately thought back to this article I read about Arthur Smith mentioning this before, like 5 days before the game. He mentioned it on like a freaking Tuesday of all things. And I was just like, man, I'm shocked they weren't ready for that.
But
Like
you have to
after.
understand Arthur Smith's mentality. He wants to make sure that the push works to get 6 inches. So he
Mhm.
wants the defense to like have to worry about a bunch of other stuff so they can get their 6 inches. He's not
Right.
worried about getting 50 yards. That was a happy accident. Right.
Right. But anyway, I just kudos to, actually showing some creativity out of that because
Yeah.
I actually thought it was a touchdown when it happened live, for them
Good
to
or
go
bad.
back and rule or not. But it's like if we don't have that 80-yard rushing play that puts us at the one where we score a touchdown, this game may not even have been close. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how poor the offense did as a whole. I mean, when we really
Mhm.
think about it. So. But anyway, believe it or not, I know you guys think the world revolves around the Steelers, but it doesn't. And it's also Thanksgiving week, so there's actually some good games on Thanksgiving this year. That we have three good games, in my opinion. We're gonna just we might pick all Thanksgiving games and call it a rest before our five-star matchup. But the first game of your Turkey Day celebration, Packers go to Detroit to take on the Lions. Right now, the Lions are 2.5 point favorites. Corey, I'm going to give you first crack here.
Yeah, the Lions are just damn good. That's kind of my big thing with this. That is a very legitimate team. It sucks that what's gone on with Laporta. I will say that, but the Packers, they look kind of off last week. I don't know if you guys watched that. Did y'all happen to see that game?
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Some,
Love just
something's
doesn't. Yeah.
No, it's just like you know what Love kind of looked like, and Will's gonna love this. He kind of looked like Trevor Lawrence,
Hmm.
where it was just kind of like man, it's just not. He should be looking
Not
really good
clicking.
right now, and it's just not
Yeah.
clicking. And that's one of those things where it's kind of hard when you're missing like that, when you're not spiking balls, when it's just like off. It's hard to kind of write that off on a 1 week thing. I, I'd probably take the Lions in general, but Lions at home, Packers coming, not looking bad, but looking off. I'm going Lions here to cover.
All right, Will, let's you tack on to that. What do you think?
I think these teams are actually pretty close in terms of talent if you look at the whole season. Like right as you said, right now, I think neither team had their best outing this last week.
Yeah.
But I think Detroit has the advantage of being home and on Thanksgiving. That's traditionally been pretty solid for them. And I also feel like Detroit needs this game a little bit more than Green Bay because they're, already like the Steelers out of a playoff spot and then have to go play Pittsburgh and like what is virtually a playoff game for both teams. So I feel like they got to get it together and they have a little bit more pressure on them and they're home on Thanksgiving on a short week. I'll take the Lions.
Yeah, and believe it or not, both of these teams are chasing the Bears for the NFC North crown after this past week. I mean, who would have thunk that?
That's
So yeah,
crazy.
I would tend to lean the Lions here. I think it'll be a very close game though, and I think a part of it is because Detroit's defense just they give up plays when they can't. It feels like every time they need like a stop, a drive continues to march down the field. and the Laporta injury definitely hurts the Lions. But I'm going to go back to a point that I made multiple episodes ago. Green Bay missing Tucker Kraft. They still have not
Oh,
figured out how to replace that portion of their
Yeah.
offense. They built so much of him into their offense. It's just taken that far away to and with Jordan Love not looking as sharp and crisp lately, it just makes me feel like Detroit at home, Campbell's going to be ready for him. Jamison Williams, 0 catches this past week. I don't think that'll continue. But I expect this to be a very close game. I like the Lions to win and cover. Could be a late, Bates field goal that puts them over. If it wasn't for a late Bates field goal, they wouldn't even got to overtime this past week.
Yep.
Good thing is Jahmyr Gibbs, frickin' stud. So keep riding that boy, please. Not only because he's on
yep.
my dynasty team or anything,
No, no,
but
no.
all
Well, one
right.
thing I will say about Jahmyr Gibbs, I'd like to point out the shout out to the czar of the playbook, Emery Hunt, who was the only person in the draft world who said that Jahmyr Gibbs was the best running back in that class. And I think, like it was just, he was viewed as being too small and he wasn't the number one, he wasn't the number one back style thing. And
Mhm.
some of those other guys in that class, I think Brian Robinson was in that class, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Um,
Bajan. Yeah. Oh, it
or,
looks like we lost Corey there for.
well, I meant Brian. I meant the one that's with
Oh, yeah. Okay, my bad.
with the Redskins or what used to be the
San
Redskins.
Fran. Yeah, San
Yeah.
Fran actually now. Yeah, gotcha.
Anyway, but yeah. So that's a win because that dude can play.
Yep. Not sure what happened to Corey. I'll keep an eye out for him if
I'm
we get
just
him.
sickened by having to pick the Kansas City Dallas game.
Right, because that's the next game we're gonna go to. Kansas City has to go to Dallas. Both these teams are still chasing playoff spots, believe it or not. Actually, I think with the Chiefs win, I think they are in the last spot now.
Yeah,
I could be wrong,
I
but I
think
think
so.
that's right. They knocked Pittsburgh out with their win. Obviously, I'll start off with this one. Obviously, you've got Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. Really expect a shootout. I really expect a shootout in this game. I know the Kansas City defense, they don't let opponents score a lot, but man, the Dallas offense is just they are good. They can run the ball actually physically. Their biggest holdup is going to be can they hold up in pass protection? That's their biggest thing. Tyler Guyton has played better in his sophomore year, but he continues to fight a lower leg injury. It seems like he limps off about every game with something. But really, if they can hold up in pass protection, I think this will be a hell of a game. The Colts had them on the ropes and just let them off. I know there's some questionable calls in that game both ways, but we're not getting into the officiating debate. We'll be here all freaking night.
We had him and we let him off the hook.
Yeah, we had. Yeah, I love that night. I like that addition, but um, I'm actually going to say the Cowboys end up winning this game. That
Wow.
the Chiefs are favored by 3.5. I like the Cowboys to cover that. This feels like it's going to come down to a last second field goal attempt or something. So I like the Cowboys to cover. I'm not sure if they'll win, but I like them to cover 3.5 currently.
Well, you know how you said the Chiefs, I mean the Cowboys offenses, they're really good, like that they could do a lot of stuff, they could put up some points, it could be a high scoring game. Well, it's every game's a high scoring game with Dallas because their defense is, if not the worst defense in the NFL. Their Bengals exist, so the Cowboys are not the worst defense in the league, but they're that kind of a defense. And their main problem is Cincinnati can't stop the run. And not
Right.
that Dallas is any good stopping the run, but they have problems against the pass coverage. The Chiefs, I think, are a lot better offensively than you might think, based on the fact that they've subperformed a little bit.
Hmm.
I think it's just that they had a rough schedule, man. They've played some
Hmm.
really tough teams with good defenses. This is not one of them. It's a good team, and they're a little bit hot right now. And it is Thanksgiving, playing on a short week at home. But I think the Chiefs are going to win easily this game.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I said I like the Cowboys to cover. I
Yeah,
think it'll be that close to where they may not win this game, but they're not going to be far off. So I kind of like the Cowboys to cover. Not so certain they're going to win.
right.
Um, and I haven't heard back from Korey here, so we'll kind of move on to the
That looked like
next.
possibly like a power failure kind of a situation. So
Right.
we'll get him back.
But let's see. Oh,
Either
here
that or
he
Florida
comes
fell
right
into the
there.
ocean, which is also a possibility.
Yeah, Korey. No, he's not in the ocean because he's coming back on right now.
Okay. Good
Uh,
Phone
talk.
died on me.
oh,
Yeah.
gotcha, Korey. So we we were just talking about the Chiefs Dallas game. Dallas or the Chiefs are favored by 3.5. What are your thoughts on this one?
Ooh, the Chiefs don't really look like they're clicking right now either.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's not like Dallas is this game-wrecking team either. I don't.
Right.
This was kind of hard. I want to go by my normal rule of thumb, which is don't feel the Chiefs feel more like a 7-5 team than a 6-6 team.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mhm.
I don't know, something in my gut's just telling me Dallas. Quentin Williams had a huge game last week. I feel like Dak's been pretty aggressive. It's in Dallas, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I think I'm going Dallas here. It's not one. Usually I go with the Chiefs in these situations, but I'm going to take Dallas.
I'm not alone, Korey. So I didn't pick the Cowboys to win, but the line is 3.5, and I did pick them to cover the 3.5. I feel like it's going to be either an extremely close game where it feels like Dallas just might put on that last second score to kind of win, or only lose on a last second field goal or something. So I'm kind of with you. The
Not
Quinton
not me,
Williams,
man. Not me, man. The Dallas defense is not good, and the Chiefs offense I think has played a run of really tough defenses that have sort of made them look lesser than you might think. But I got a feeling this is a week where they put up some points in at a healthy margin against Dallas. As much as I like Dallas's offense, the game isn't, you gotta stop the Chiefs offense in there. They got a quarterback. I don't know if you heard of him, pretty good, Patrick Mahomes,
yeah,
playing
he might
returning
be.
to Texas. So
Wait, is he that guy on all the Allstate commercials?
yeah, that's it. What you know him from. So
But I'm kind of with Korey. I like the addition of Quinton Williams. He's made that defense tougher. I'm not saying better exponentially, but it has made it tougher for teams to run the ball on them because they have him and Clark in the middle, and that they have guys at defensive end. I'm not saying they're good, but like they have good athletes, out there that can make it difficult if you give them enough time. So. Not to mention, Deron Bland has been back, and he is looking very much like the corner from 2023 rather than the year he had in 2024. Just a few more thoughts
yeah,
on that
but you
one.
got against the Chiefs, you got to cover five guys. You know what I mean? It's their one of the secrets with a team like that is that they don't have like such a number one that's such a hot shot number one that you can just build your defense around covering. Make sure you just take that guy away and they'll hurt. But with the Chiefs, it's like, man, they got kind of, he'll just start throwing it to a different guy entirely.
Right. Well, let's
Mhm.
move on to the final game on Thanksgiving. The Bengals have to go to Baltimore. Baltimore is favored by 7. Will, I'll let you start off with this one.
Now, the only plausible thing would be the point spread because even if Joe Burrow plays, which I guess is they're talking
He
about
he
happening,
is slated to play.
yeah. Even if Joe Burrow plays, I just don't. I think actually they're missing. They get Joe Burrow, but they're missing T Higgins, right? So
Yeah, he's in concussion protocol, so they probably.
that's tough on a short week. So if add Joe Burrow, take away T Higgins, that's still not enough to overcome how bad their defense is. And Baltimore is just one of those. I think they're in win ugly mode right now. And they're pretty good at traditionally the last few years with under Lamar Jackson. They're pretty good at that win ugly thing, and it's been a rare occasion when that hasn't worked for them, much like the Steelers. So I kind of feel like Baltimore wins this. Do they win by more than 7? I would say you could see a heroic effort from Joe Burrow to save their season because this is pretty much it. They have to win out more or less.
Mhm.
Maybe they could deal with one more loss and have a shot the last week, needing a lot of help. But yeah, I kind of feel like it's do or die for the Bengals, so you can't rule out them keeping it close. So outside chance they cover the 7, but Baltimore's going to win this game.
Okay.
Is Jamar Chase back or is he still suspended?
Nope, he'll be back for this.
Mm, I don't know. I could see the Bengal. I think if they have Chase and Burrow, I think they're just gonna go F it. We're airing it out. I'll take the Bengals to cover, but I don't know if I'll go all the way for a win.
Yeah.
I think they'll just let them rip it. But if they win, I wouldn't be shocked with those two. I mean, they can hang up points, but yeah, I think they'll at least cover.
Gotcha. I definitely say it'd probably fall more into that boat, but I like the Ravens to win and cover for this one reason. It's a short week. The home teams typically are much better off on short weeks, Thursday night football, and without Higgins, that's one more thing. In 2 weeks from now, when they have to play them again in 14 days, they're doing that thing where they play the Ravens, one other team, and then they play the Ravens again. uh, I think will have a better chance at home if they're all healed up. So I like the Ravens to win and cover this time. Be more prepared for the other scenario to might happen when the game is in Cincinnati. And I lied. We're going to do one more game
Ah,
very quickly because it's a big battle for the AFC North, or not North, AFC South. Excuse me. The Houston Texans are headed up to my town, Indianapolis, to take on the Colts in a game which very well could end up deciding who is going to win that division. The Texans currently sit at 6-5, but the Colts are sitting at 8-3, so they are within striking distance. The Colts are at home, favored by 4.5. I'll start off on this one. I think the Texans actually come up and steal a win. The Colts offensive line facing pressure this year is not good. They do not handle it at all. And you've started to see it in recent weeks. So I think the Texans defense is going to kind of put the clamps down on the Colts offense a little bit. I think the Texans will do just enough against an okay Colts defense, even with the Charvarius Ward being back last week and Sauce Gardner helping out the secondary. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think I'm going to go the Texans win and cover the 4.5. Will, what are your thoughts?
I think the bloom was off the pumpkin a little bit with Indianapolis.
Mhm.
Um,
When we
the definitely for my perfect mixed metaphor. Um, I would think I don't think they're not going to be suddenly collapse into like we're losing every game, but
Mhm.
I think some of that like early season thing that they had going on has lost a little bit of luster.
Mhm.
So yeah, they're still a good team, especially on offense. But if pressure, I can see pressure for their offensive line and Daniel Jones being a pretty big issue for them compared to what it might be for some teams. So Houston defense is totally legit. The question will be, can they get enough out of their offense to
Mhm.
win a game? And I think the key to that is I expect a low scoring game. So if it's a low scoring game, that gives Houston a better chance to win and cover. I kind of feel like the energy, the vibe is going that way. With Houston, they got to believe they can catch them in the division if they win this game. So take the Texans.
Yeah, and I do want to point something out. I should have said this. It's still unclear whether Stroud will be available for this game.
Ah,
He is still in concussion protocol. So
wow.
Davis Mills might get his fourth straight game. So I even like their chances with Davis Mills. Just
Well, Stroud has been in the hospital with Cole Holcomb. Like
Huh.
right.
something that didn't think of you going to take that long. It's probably a bigger problem than you realize it is. Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
good. I was wondering if Cole Holcomb had like a staph infection or something because,
I mean, it's got to be something crazy. Like,
yeah. Anyway,
I mean, I'll say this: Davis Mills has actually been pretty solid. Um, I I think a genuine question is, there's no way like you don't start CJ Stroud, but like how good of a game would Davis Mills have to play where it becomes like a big story? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I saw something about like his like 17 game pace, which granted he's on the backup bump right now, not to fall too heavy into it,
right.
Yeah.
but okay, here it is. It's like on pace for 17 games. It would be 4,590 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions.
Don't give the Steelers any ideas, man.
No, but I do think he's even in his previous stint where he was doing some starting that he would definitely he's perfect backup, good for a few games. And yeah, I don't know if I believe that is in the long term interest.
Oh no.
Stroud has been sort of has had some inconsistencies too, so it's not impossible, you know.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know. I'm kind of with you, Jeremy. Or I think it was Jeremy. That I think the Texans might just pull this one out. I think that the Colts were riding a little high. I don't think the Colts are that bad, but I think that the Texans coming off a Buffalo win, I feel like you're gonna feel like you can probably take on the world. That this isn't a kind of team that's gonna think that they're like, oh, too good for the Colts or anything. They're probably just gonna try and keep that ball rolling. So kind of momentum based, but I'll go the Texans.
All right. No more games. Five-star matchup time.
We all took
uh,
the Texans, so they're doomed. Put your money on the Colts.
right. But Buffalo has to come to Pittsburgh. That might be the only positive this week is it's a home game.
Is that a positive?
I don't know. It was worth a shot.
Wait till you see how many Buffalo fans are in the stands.
Right. That's
Before
very
you say
true.
that. Yeah.
Bills are favored by 3.5. Corey, I'll let you take first crack at it.
Yeah, maybe we win it, but I would be surprised. I would be pleasantly surprised. But this, I hear where Randall's coming from,
Mhm.
and he still predicted a win for the Bills. But I don't think any game. Honestly, I'm not going to pick us to be the Chiefs or the Bills ever until either we are shown that they can do it or Tomlin is not the coach. Like I'll pick us to beat the Ravens just because we've shown we can do that. But any upper echelon AFC team, Colts didn't count, by the way. I think I made that clear when we picked them. Any upper echelon with an elite QB, I don't think Tomlin does well with scheming non-Lamar Jackson QBs. So I'm going the Bills here. Until I'm shown something, I'm not gonna pick the Steelers in any kind of game like this. So I'll take Bills. My score prediction, let's go 31-17.
Hmm.
Okay. Will.
I think the Steelers are very difficult to predict this season and for in recent years. So it feels like whenever we kind of feel like this is a game they should win, that they have often disappointed and vice versa. I don't know if the condition that these two teams are in, I'm not sure you can clearly be like, oh, no one thinks the Steelers are going to win, so they're going to come out and win this game. Um, I do think that the one predictor that seems to be working pretty well for me is that when the opposing team has a legitimate dual threat quarterback, so somebody who's a really good passer, but who's really dangerous running, that
Mhm.
it neuters what the Steelers do. They are, they're afraid to commit fully to coverage and rushing four because they feel like that guy could escape and make plays with his legs. And with Buffalo, it's not even just scrambles from passing. It's like they'll run power sweeps with him and stuff. So I think because you have to account for those extra things, it makes it less likely the Steelers are going to have a super dominating performance like they might have against the Carson Wentz, or even a really good version of Carson Wentz. So at this point, that's the difference in the game. I think Buffalo's got problems. They certainly have problems stopping the run. They're also really good at running it, better than even Chicago is. And we were talking about how much we thought Chicago was going to run against the Steelers. They didn't have to because the Steelers gave them the ability to pass at will. So why would why bother running a bunch? So I think this is a close game. And if Aaron Rodgers plays, I think it's a relatively high scoring game. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, I don't think it's as close, and I wouldn't pick the same score. But with Aaron Rodgers, I think it's about a 25-28 game, and the difference is they have Josh Allen, and we don't. To take it back to where Corey was talking about earlier.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. If Rudolph is out there again for the wrong holiday, expect another loss.
Christmas though.
Yeah, well, that's still 4 weeks away.
Yeah.
If Rodgers is out there, I do think things look a little better just because he is a more talented passer of the ball. That there's no doubt about it. So some of the intermediate game may look a little crisper. I'll harp back on the man. I don't know how either of them throw a deep ball anymore. They just look fucking terrible. Excuse my language, but it's just really, really bad. But with Rodgers, I still think it's going to be a loss at the end of the day. I think this is a kind of a get right game for the Bills, even with Spencer Brown out at right tackle, where we probably have a good matchup there with TJ or whatever. Just the Josh Allen effect is real, and we don't play QBs like him well. If they're like you guys said, if they're not named Lamar Jackson, they usually tear us to shreds. So I like the Bills to win. Man, because I think they're gonna be able to run with Cook too. So I'm gonna say it's a 35-20 game. 35-20. Seems like this is a get right, and we don't get enough right. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you.
Unfortunately.
So, do you have anything else there? Or,
No, just saying, unfortunately, to
yeah,
what you said.
yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we know what we're getting with Buffalo coming to town, but thank you all for tuning in to another episode here at the SteelerFury.com podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Kohlman. You know me as Smith is Smoking on the message boards, joined by Wil Masisak. You know him as Brad Should Have Been and Accidental Zone on Twitter, and Korey Karbowsky. You know him as Corey39. I don't know, guys. Maybe we, have that get right game too. It seems like we play this back and forth yo-yo, where it's like there are some games where we have a firm grip on what we do and we go out there and we do it well, or there's games like this past week where it's like we got to count on the turnovers to win. So we'll see. We'll see. But here we go, Steelers. Hopefully we get to steal a win versus Josh Allen and the Bills.
Enjoy the primetime game. Go get them, guys.
Yep. Enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to you all.